When Hebrew Israelites say complain about racism past or present within a mainstream Christian church, they often have a valid point. The thing is, they're not really raising a point that's much different than a lot of people who've been fair-minded, especially Black Christians, on these issues. So they're not really the only ones to sound the alarm on that. We have seen racism, bigotry, prejudice, especially in the American mainstream church, past and present. When you talk about the large claims, Gabar, that Hebrew Israelites tend to make about history, I got to be frank with you. I find it's almost always wrong or misinterpreted. When you talk about the large claims, Gabar, that Hebrew Israelites tend to make about history, I got to be frank with you. I find it's almost always wrong or misinterpreted. And they oftentimes don't really have an interest in finding an alternative explanation, meaning it's like, here's my predisposition, here's what I see, here's the only explanation for this. Hitler quote. You'll see that Hitler quote passed around all the time. Hitler never said that. And you can show a Hebrew Israelite who posts a meme, I have the book you're saying it's from right here. It's on my shelf right back there. You open up to the page they say it's on, and it's literally not there. That page is about propaganda films by the Nazis. It's about Nazi propaganda films. And I think one of the pages shows Hitler and some guys watching a Nazi propaganda film that they're saying, oh, check this out. Doesn't have the quote about the Hebrew Israelites being black and all that, like people say.
The fact of the matter was that blacks were being kept out of baseball. They were being kept out of football. And although I'm not sure how many people really believe this, one of the arguments was that, well, they might be faster, they might be stronger, but they don't play the game smart. You know, all of these, ridiculous lies. But they were widely accepted. In track and field, unlike in team sports, you could measure performance empirically. Jesse Owens is running a 9.9 100 yards. He's just faster than any white man on the planet, and you can't argue against that, and it would be foolish to try to argue it. On May 25th, 1935, in Ann Arbor, Michigan, at the Big Ten track meet, he sets world records in 4 events in the space of less than an hour. This is all with an injury. He'd suffered a back injury horsing around with some of his fraternity brothers the week before. And all of a sudden, he is America's greatest hope for the Berlin Olympics.
And the games are on. Here in the semifinal heat of the 100-meter dash, Movietone's camera catches the blinding speed of Jesse Owens, cracking the world record in the incredible time of 10 and 2/10 seconds.
Black athletes won the 100, the 200, the 400, the 800, the long jump, the high jump. It certainly proved that this Aryan business of supremacy was ridiculous.
The Third Reich. No one was surprised when John Woodruff and Jesse Owens and Ralph Metcalfe and Cornelius Johnson and Dave Albrin and Archie Williams and Jimmy Louval ended up dominating the competition.
We came to New York, and they had a big parade for us, but I can't recall, after winning the Olympics, that it opened any particular doors. Now, I'm sure many of the white Olympians were made offers.
I want to give all the praises and the honor to Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shai Bahashem, Recha HaQuadash, and double honors to the apostles, elder apostles, and the elders of Great Millstone. Shalom to you other elders, you followers of the faith, even you few sisters. Shalom to the elect. Anyway, I want to dive right into this. This is a raw video. Well, the intro wasn't, but as I further went and looked into certain things, that's why I put what I put in the intro and the titling or whatever else scriptures I can put in, so I can go dig right into this video. You know, what the 1948ers claim they've been through. You know, what I'm going to show you through research, that it was Jake's going through that over there. Yeah, it is what it is. There was a man named, what's his name? I can't remember. Joseph Nazi. You can look him up. He was a Jake who they claimed was a 1948er descent. It's a shame that's how we got to say it. So I'm picking words wisely, okay, so you understand. So I'll read this right here. Afro-German children in Rhineland. From World War I, the victorious Allies occupied in Rhineland in western Germany. The use of French colonial troops, some whom were black, in these occupation forces heightened anti-black racism in Germany. Racist propaganda against black soldiers falsely depicted them as rapists of German women and carriers of venereal and other diseases. So VOCAB Malone won't go deep into this history. The only thing he wants to go into is how Christianity needs to be brought back to black people, which destroyed so-called black people, let me say Israelites, from white Christianity, going back to the 14 and 1500s, So anyway, the German press derogatorily referred to the children of black soldiers and German women as Rhineland bastards, right? Because Jake was going over the wars. I have a family member now that been over them other countries, and man, he liked them German women, even to this day. Some of them are Eves as well, but he liked them German women, right? It says the Nazis viewed Afro-German children with one African parent and one German parent as a threat to purity of the Germanic race in 1925. See, now we can see how this man has managed to take the Bible, because you're not technically supposed to marry outside your so-called race, right? So they've took that part, but let's see what happens. See, they're the only ones can produce and promote pure hatred, but when we teach, the same kind of, through the scriptures, what you should and shouldn't do according to the scriptures, then we become the biggest hate group, It says, Adolf Hitler charged that the Jews had brought the Negroes into Rhineland with the clear aim to ruining the hated white race is necessarily resulting to bastardization. One of the Nazi regime came to power, Afro-Germans were marginalized in Germany. And when you read some of this, you take it a grain of salt, because some of it they're going to go off on, right? Isolated socially and economically and not allowed to attend universities. Racial discrimination. So this goes on what I said, curse shall thou be when I come and sin, curse shall thou be when I go us out. We're the only people that no matter where we're hated, nobody wants us, we try to fit in anyway. By the end of 1937, Gaspeo has secretly rounded up and forcibly sterilized many Afro-Germans. Some were subject to medical experiments, kind of like the Tuskegee, and even before the Tuskegee, they had one down in, I can't remember, but down in South America, they did it to the Native Americans down there before, what's her name, Eunice Rivers was set up, by the way, to hit you with that potion, right? And how they did that experiment, when I read up, what they did is they captured Jake, locked him up, right, and shot the actual women up with the disease, and then, which were so-called prostitutes, and gave it, laid with Jake and gave it to Jake, Anyway, others mysteriously disappeared. In addition to being persecuted for their race, Afro-Germans were persecuted for other reasons. For example, Hilary Gilges was an Afro-German dancer and communist activist for Düsseldorf, Germany. Nazis murdered him, right, on June 20th, 1933 for his politics as well as his race. Why is this coming into play? You know, what comes to my mind when we read this, Revelation 2 and 10. They shall take you and take you in prison for 10 days, you know. Today, Hillary's Gilgis Platz and Dusseldorf memorializes Gilgis as a victim of Nazi terror. So what they were doing is the Jakes that was messing with the woman, you know, because you know the German woman wanted Jake. Jake had all the goods. So they got pissed off about that, man. You know, they got pissed off about that. And they start sterilizing them and killing them. You know, they start sterilizing and killing them. You know, and that's to the point. Let's go to Deuteronomy 28 and let's go to 44, I think. It says, he shall lend to thee, and thou shalt not lend to him. Right? He shall lend to thee, and thou shalt not lend to him. You know, this man is in pure power. He shall be the head, and thou shalt be the tail. And even with these athletes, they're going out and they're sacrificing their bodies, you know, for this man's entertainment, and then trading them back and forth just like they did hundreds of years ago. Same thing. And they give them these contracts, and contrary to believe what people believe, they're contracts. So they're not just all your. It's not all just your money. If something should happen to you, you get a portion. You know, if you got a $200 million contract, everybody gets lit up on that. You're under a contract. That's what it was when they brought us here. It was still a contract. It's the same damn thing, right? And if the slave didn't hold honor up to the contract, he ran away. That's why it was business. That's why if they ran away, it would be hard on the owners, because now it's documented that this slave is not, you know, trainable, right? And this is what happened with athletes. If athletes get out of control, they got to let them go, even though they're under these contracts. So the contracts is a form of insurance, even with the actors, you know. This is why when they rebel, like Michael Jackson, Red Fox, Whitney Houston, and various others, they go broke. Tina Marie, and the list goes on. Denzel Washington's not exempt, you know. All these great actors, Terry Crews, so to speak, is not the greatest actor, but he's not exempt. They have to do certain things. Okay, that Kevin Hart character, who was seen in the footage with Dwayne The Rock Johnson, huddled up together, if you know what I mean. This is what it is, man. These are the curses. Thou shalt lend, he shall lend to thee, and thou shalt lend to him, meaning you under those contracts, even if buying a house. Right? It's just what it is. Therefore, verse 48, therefore thou shalt serve thine enemy, which the Lord shall send against thee in hunger, and in thirst, and in nakedness, and in want of all things. And he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck until he have destroyed thee. So I find this interesting. I'll go into this too. I find this interesting that VOCAB alone and various Christians says Deuteronomy 28 has nothing to do with us, but they uphold the 1948 situation. And there was no history or historical documents put out in the media, right, or even in our schools about these so-called Afro Nazis in Germany. Nothing about their so-called situation that the other ones so-called had. Nothing of that. Nothing about the sterilization and, you know, all that stuff. They did leak the other one with Eunice Rivers, the Tuskegee experiment, as if we see these experiments, you know, happening, okay, and we know what just went on. All for you so-called Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans, and even you other nations that's caught under the banner of these super elites, okay? So it's interesting that when it comes to us, nothing's recognized. They got a stated claim. If you speak against the 1948ers, they put the anti thing up. It becomes a crime for that. So they give us the thing with the N-word, so we can stay, so they can have the excuse to do it. And remember, these people are the ones that fund these black movements. So why aren't we funding them, right? They lend to us, but we can't lend to them. Why? Because we're not in power, and they control the narrative of everything, including this guy here, VOCAB Malone, you see on the right. There's a reason why he's set up. He's not doing a very good job. He's only bringing forth people that already just don't hate the Israelites. That already hate the Israelites. They don't care what he has to say. Some of them don't even care about Christianity. Some of them don't go to church. But because they don't like the so-called black Hebrew Israelites or Hebrew Israelism, they'll side with VOCAB. You know, that's all that matters to them. They don't care. So I find this crazy that VOCAB Malone is somehow Jesus. We don't know what color he is, but when we was raised, we believed he was white. But there was no vocabs or anybody saying, we don't know what color he is, so stop putting up the white image. Nobody never said that. So when it comes to us, now we're the hate group. We can't be identified as being black. And let's say the Bible doesn't say that the Jews were black. We know they had to be so-called black, because there was no reason to say that, to put out a message saying that they were black, because it was already known. So anyway, that's all I have on that. Shalom.